Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Andy here.
Hi, I'm Amy.
That's Imogen, my girlfriend. Off to a professional start. We're going to talk about something that seems really logical on the surface. Guys, this is going to sound like such a logical thing. You are not obligated to have sex with a woman. It is okay if you're in the bedroom, you're in the middle of sex or you're about to have sex and you decide you don't want to go any further. You're not an asshole. You're not a bad person if you decide that you want to stop. I think most women understand this concept, even if they struggle sometimes in the moment to have some boundaries and say, hey, can we slow down?
Yeah. And I think logically on the surface it makes sense, but I think in practice when you're in the middle of something, like saying no when you're already like halfway through a thing, like it can be really challenging for both men and I'm sure like for women and I'm sure men as well, especially because I'm sure for men it doesn't come up as often. Whereas I think with women, there's more of a sense of, or at least
I think women get told a lot more like, hey, if you're not comfortable with something, stop.
Sure. And I think with dating and sexual experiences with women, like there's often more of like a personal safety thing.
Yeah.
And like, so you're allowed to like, I guess you're a bit more on guard or aware and almost vigilant sometimes of potential like concerns or like not wanting to progress.
Yeah. And so let's step back a bit, give a bit of context here. I've been in these situations quite a lot. Not so much recently. You and I screen a lot harder and all of that. But I had quite a few women that I slept with in the early days of working on all of this stuff where in the middle of it, I'd be like, I'm not really enjoying this. Or maybe, you know, there's a hygiene issue, trying to say that in a nice way. Maybe she had a hygiene thing going on. Maybe there was a bit of a smell or something. And in the moment, I'm like, man, I'm not into this. But like, I can't stop because I'd hurt her feelings. And this is going to sound like a wild thing to say. You get to hear this first, ladies and gentlemen. I have faked orgasms.
I have too.
Wait, not with me.
No.
Now, if you faked an orgasm with me, I'd probably just say like, what the fuck are you doing? Why don't you just tell me? Anyway, separate. But yeah, I've faked orgasms. I've literally been in a situation where I've gone like, I'm really not enjoying this. I don't have the confidence or the communication skills, I guess the practice to be able to say like, hey, do you mind if we stop? Or do you mind if we take a break? Or like any of that. And so I've just fucking faked it. I've literally gone like, this is many years ago. I wouldn't do this now, but I've gone like, oh yeah, fuck, I came, you're so good. And then quickly take the condom off and like run into the bathroom or some shit and hide it and put it in the bin.
Girls are checking condoms though.
Like, what if she checks? She's like, show me. Where's the sperm? Show me. Huh, what's this? Where's the sperm? You didn't, and oh no, I just don't come much. No. So we had a coaching client, I guess for more context, we had a coaching client who recently met this woman, seemed really into her, but he didn't give himself enough of a chance to make sure there was chemistry there. This happens a lot for those of you that, or it can happen sometimes, for those of you who are chasing like very casual sexual experiences. Like you meet someone off a dating app, and you basically go straight back to your place or their place and have sex. You know, you're not sort of giving yourself enough of a time, enough of a chance to see if there's chemistry, make sure you like each other, blah, blah, blah. So they go back to his place, get undressed, and again, there was sort of like a hygiene issue there. You know, she had a bit of a smell going on. And in his words, he just sort of grinned and bared it. And more stuff happened. Like they undressed and then he wasn't really into her sexually, like her body and all of that. He said she had a bit of a funky smell going on and he felt physically ill and psychologically ill because he's like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, I'm not into this, but I don't know what to do. And in his mind, he's such a nice guy that he was like, I don't want to hurt her. And so I'm just going to grin and bear it. And then they started doing some stuff. I think he started fingering her or something. And he said at one point he was literally trying not to like throw up. Because he was just like, I'm really not into this. Why am I doing this? I'm essentially torturing myself because I'm too afraid to stop.
And I think with sex being something that's very personal, very vulnerable, very intimate, I think it's quite natural. And I think it's maybe more, again, talked about with women, but you can almost have this visceral reaction. Like nothing terrible is happening, but
you're having like a freak out.
Because you're in this situation where you are so vulnerable and you're not wanting to be there, that in itself, like that conflict when it comes to like being somewhere where you don't want to be there, like can evoke a very strong and visceral reaction.
Yeah, and you can kind of get into your own head and be like, holy shit, I'm trapped, which was how he felt. He's like, I'm trapped. I don't want to be here, but I don't know how to get out of this. I'm literally trapped. And lots of women feel like that too. There's lots of people that it's just a very human thing. Lots of people will go through a sexual experience and maybe they're not super into it, or even they want it to stop, but they don't know how to say like, hey, I'm not into this, or can we slow down, or can we stop? Like, it can be a challenge to speak up. Most people don't like confrontations, especially like you said, in such a vulnerable sexual setting where you're like, look, we're both naked. I'm vulnerable and they're vulnerable. I don't know how to say, can we stop? Or I'm not enjoying this because I might hurt the other person. Like, that's a lot of the time what's going on. That's what's going on a lot of the time when someone struggles to have boundaries during sex. It's like, I don't want to hurt the other person. And so this was my client. And eventually, you know, he starts, I think he fingered her or something. And then she was also on her period. And so he said his hand was just covered in blood. And at that point, he's just like, I can't do this. I'm so sorry. And he literally said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't do this. And he said the classic, you know, cute thing of like, it's not you, it's me. It's like, not to blame her, but like, and anyway, separate discussion. So he got dressed, showered himself, and said like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And she was like, that's okay. Like, I'm sorry, I was on my period. And, you know, they went separate ways. And he was sort of beating himself up, this has happened a couple of times with clients in the past, which is why we're sort of doing this video. Guys and women, obviously, as well. It's okay if you go through an experience like this where maybe you sleep with someone that you didn't really want to, and then afterwards you find yourself beating yourself up and you're like, why did I sleep with that guy? You know, he was a fuckboy, blah, 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 whatever you're feeling. Or why did I sleep with that girl? I wasn't really into her. She wasn't my type, but I just didn't know how to say no. That's okay. Like, sex is, until you get somewhat experienced with it, or if you're just a confident, self-loving person to begin with, sex is a little messy sometimes. Like you said, it can be hard to be that vulnerable because for a lot of people, especially if you're doing casual sex, in that vulnerable sexual moment, that's something you probably haven't practiced a whole lot, like being that fucking vulnerable. And I think, especially in a Western culture, and maybe I've done this a little bit on the channel too, and I've definitely had this mindset, a lot of people treat sex without any sort of like reverence or appreciation of what it is. And they just go, oh, it's just hooking up. It's just sex. It's just fucking. I'm just fucking. And then when you're in that moment, you're like, wait, this is pretty vulnerable. Like, I'm literally naked in front of another human being that I don't necessarily know super well if you're having casual sex. And I haven't practiced this a whole lot. And I don't know how to have boundaries in this moment. I don't really know what to do. And so if you do go through an experience like this where maybe you struggle to say no, that's okay. Like, you're not an idiot. You're not a bad person. You didn't fuck up or any of that. You're in a situation you just haven't practiced a lot of.
Yeah, and I think as you said, like, it comes down to just like a not knowing, like, what to do.
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as what we were saying before of like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm just not feeling it right
I'm
now.
not really feeling
Can we
this.
slow down for a minute? Like, it doesn't have to be like, well, we need to stop and I can't do this, but like, hey, can we slow down? Can we pause for a second? And that might take some practice. And if you are looking to have a fair bit of casual sex or meet a lot of new people, like, you probably are going to have to get some practice in with it, because it's not uncommon that once you get down to it, you just might not be feeling it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, any number of things can come up. And I think once you practice it a little bit too, it's understanding that like nothing bad happens, and most people are pretty understanding. And even if, you know, someone is hurt or offended or it's a bit clumsy, still nothing bad happens. What's maybe more unpleasant is like seeing it through than feeling unpleasant within yourself for having done something you didn't want to do. And this is something that we did for quite a bit early on when we were meeting new women, because we were meeting quite a lot of women and it was on quite a casual basis. And especially at the start, we weren't screening a great deal.
Yeah.
And there were definitely some like insecurity, jealousy issues on my end. And
we
so,
both had sex with people that we weren't super into, like in threesomes.
I think as well, because the funny thing that happens is because you kind of assume that the other person is into them.
Yeah,
And then, whereas when it's just yourself, you know how you're feeling, you can make the decision for yourself, but you can be swayed by like another person, like being in this couple. They're like, well, I
don't want to ruin the experience.
Yeah, so it's almost
them.
like for two
there's two
people,
of them having fun. I don't want to ruin it for both of those people, so I should just shut up and grin and bear it. Like, I did that quite a few times. Do you remember, like, the girl with the tattoo?
Yeah,
that was, and you did quite a few times. Yeah,
I did a few times, and sometimes we both weren't having the best time, or like, I can think of one interaction in particular. We were on a date. We didn't end up sleeping with her, but we had this like queue on dates for whether we're going to invite them back.
Yeah, so we had a little code that we would say with each other.
Yeah, and I think we we're kind of both on the fence. And then afterwards, she ended up saying like she had to work the next morning anyway, so it was fine. But
I know who you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Afterwards, we were speaking about it, and we had said that we kind of only said yes when it was really like a maybe no, but we thought that the other person was a yes, so we both ended up saying yes, if that made sense, and then inviting her back.
I said yes for you because I thought, well, Emmy likes this girl. And you had said yes for me because you're like, well, Andy seems to like her. And sometimes this happens too, where you're really into someone on a date, but that doesn't necessarily mean you want to sleep with them. And I think lots of people don't necessarily understand that. Again, this is sort of like a gray area, what we're talking about here. Like male, female, or I guess any gender. What would you call that? Interpersonal, sexual dynamics are inherently not black and white. Like sometimes you're a little bit into someone, and they say like, do you want to sleep together? And you're like, yeah. Like it's not a no. It's not an excited yes. It's just like a, okay. And sometimes that's a beautiful experience. You have a great time. Sometimes you just have it and it's like mediocre. And what we're saying here is it's not bad. I guess this whole podcast could be us just saying it's okay if you have some mediocre sexual experiences or even some that aren't that great. And you're like, I didn't really enjoy that. Yes, we're going to encourage you to have stronger boundaries and to know what you want and all of that. But part of that process of figuring out what you want can be a little messy sometimes. I think something that's helped us that we do and a lot of my coaching clients do and Cam and Taylor and, Ed, the other coaches, is slow down the sexual, if you want to, slow down the sexual process. Like, don't be in such a rush to have sex. Like, one thing that we do is we wait till the second date before we have sex or do anything sexual, literally just so that we can talk about it afterwards. And all of you can do the same thing. You don't have to. I know some of you want to have sex on the first date, but I almost think at this point, just as a general statement, I feel pretty comfortable saying this. I think in some ways, sex on a first date is massively overrated. And I'm not going to tell everyone what to do, but like, I think it has this fucking crazy, like, glamorized conception, especially in the West, of like.
I would say not amongst women.
No, but how many women do you know who are like, I met a guy at a club and we hit it off and then we had mediocre sex?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm not sure, like, if you've talked to groups of girls, but no one's glamorizing one night stands from clubs.
No. But I think there's something like.
But I think maybe
I'm not saying they're glamorizing it. I'm saying society is. Like people in general. Go watch any fucking music video. It's people grinding on each other, being sexual.
That's the idea of sex as a whole, not specifically one night stands. I think
yeah, but then because of that, yes, I agree with you.
Energy.
But then because of that, because sex itself is so glamorized, and sex is pretty cool. Like it is pretty cool. But I think because it's so glamorized, people are in such a rush to get it. So I somewhat agree with you. Maybe they're not rushing to get a one-night stand, but that's what ends up happening. They're like, I just want sex. Sex is so cool. It's going to be fantastic. And sex is pretty amazing. Let's be honest. But sex is just a thing. And I think it's glamorized almost to the point of like being a deity. I think people look at sex as if it's a godly thing. I think sometimes people even do that with my channel, with our channel. I used to do that several years ago. I thought sex was like the only thing you needed to be happy. And so I think because of that, people are often in a rush to get to sex. And they don't necessarily give themselves a huge amount of time to figure out, do I want to be with this person? Do I want to sleep with this person? Am I into this person? And again, all of you can do whatever you want. This is just a trend that I've seen with most of my coaching clients, all the other coaches in the coaching program, you and I, me, myself, is slowing it down a little bit. We're literally just saying go on a first date to get to know someone and then sleep with them on the second date. Like that is more than enough to really make sure, okay, we're into each other. And again, this coaching client that we're talking about and other coaching clients we've had in the past, these situations usually only happen when you're fucking on the first date and within like immediately meeting.
I think circling back to what you were saying before about like it can be quite different, I guess, on a personal level or an emotional level, how you're attracted to somebody. And then it can be quite different sexually. Like speaking from personal experience, I know that we've gone on dates with women and we've really clicked with them. Or like we've had really, really great conversations. And less
great
for me,
chemistry.
I think because I'm somebody that's puts a lot more weight on emotional connection. And obviously like there's a baseline physical connection, but I think my bar is a lot lower than yours. And I thought we've been having a really great time on a day, and then afterwards you've been like, no, I just like, she was really interesting, she was really nice.
I got a little confused there. To clarify, what you're saying is like, I'm attracted to someone physically, but you're not. Sorry, vice versa. You're physically attracted to someone and I'm not.
Yeah, and we can both be having a great conversation and a great time chatting with them on a date. But when it comes to like sexual energy, that can be like a different story. Like there's various ways in which you're attracted to people, and the realization of like levels of attractiveness to somebody. Like you can realize you're not that into somebody at various stages. Like it might not be obvious straight away, or it might be something that happens later on. Like there is the meme of like women, more often women getting like the ick, like when something comes up where you're like, that's like a massive turn off.
Like if he's like a Nazi, or he's like, I just straight up think black people shouldn't exist. Like those are the icks, yeah, right? Like that kind of thing. Or he's like, I just choke puppies for a living. That's what I do. So those are pretty icky things. Those are red flags to me too. Yeah.
It could be at any point in time in which, you might need to or might want to say like, hey, can we slow down for a second? Can you take a pause? Yeah. Or even, if you're on a date, like sending a text after being like, hey, like appreciate the time, but like not feeling the chemistry. Like any number of situations or things can prompt that feeling, and that's okay. Like you don't owe it to anybody to see out interactions to like the end, assuming the end is like
Yeah, I did a video on my website a while ago called "You're Not Obligated to Have Sex with Someone," and it seems like such an obvious concept, but like we said, sometimes in the moment it can be harder to, embrace that. I think something you said before, I want to sort of dive into, about there are different, maybe you wouldn't say levels of attraction, but like ways to be attracted to someone. Something that happened recently in my coaching group, one of the guys went on this date with this woman, and he said he was so into her as a human being, but he just wasn't feeling like having sex with her. And he said she's super ambitious. She's a little bit older than him, like a couple of years. She's like 30 something. And she's super, super, super motivated. And she runs her own business. And he's telling all of us about it. He's like, damn, like I had so much respect for her. She's so interesting. We hit it off. Like the conversation just flowed. We were there for like several hours just hanging out, talking. I could see that she was pretty and attractive, but for whatever reason, I just didn't feel like having sex. And he was basically saying, I should push myself and force myself to have sex with her, right? Because I need the experience and blah, blah, blah. Like the classic thing that people say, I need the experience. And yes, keeping an open mind sometimes can be a beautiful thing. But on the same token, or maybe on the flip side, you don't have to have sex with someone if you don't want to. And so what we said to him is like, do you want to just be friends with her? Like, it sounds like you guys, because she was amazing. She like literally asked him what his goals were, and she started giving him advice. And he mentioned that he's moving, and she literally, this is just a person that he's only been on one date with. She literally was like, yo, do you want any help moving? Like, I can help you lift stuff if you want to. So I was like, this sounds like a bro. Like, yeah, she's a woman, but this sounds like a freaking bro. Like, she's literally offering to help you move. Like, that's a solid friend right there. Do you want to be friends with her? Like, do you want to just text her and say, hey, I wasn't feeling like a massive sexual or romantic connection, but you are such a cool person. You're so ambitious. I freaking love that you offered to help me move, by the way. I feel like we hit it off. I feel like we'd be good for each other in each other's lives. Like, do you want to be friends? And so, yeah, he did that. And yeah, they're going to be friends. And this has happened multiple times. I've had lots of people in the coaching program that either one of them doesn't feel a connection, or there is a connection, but it's not super crazy. And so they end up just being friends and building like a kick-ass friendship, because why not? And again, you do whatever you want. But I think sometimes we look at it and we say, I'm not sexually attracted to this person, therefore something's wrong or it's bad or I need to just push them away. It's like, no, there's different levels of attractiveness. Sometimes you can love a human being as a person, but you don't want to stick your penis, or I guess have them stick their penis or whatever inside you. You can just do something else instead.
And I'm sure, like, it's not necessarily something that I've experienced personally, but I'm sure it would be very, I guess, confusing almost if you're somebody that is, like, it is a goal of yours to have more sexual experience, to have more sexual experiences, meet more people, have more sex, and then kind of get to it and then not feel like it.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure that can be very confusing of, like, saying, like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and then it's about to happen, you're like, actually, I don't think I want this. Like, I'm sure you could get quite tunnel visioned.
A lot of guys do, yep.
Then only at the very last moment realize that it's maybe actually not, at least in any particular instance, not something that you actually want. And I think in a way, like if you've been saying one thing for so long, it can be easy to say like, well, it'll almost make me a hypocrite, or like I'd be stupid to be pursuing this thing for so long and then like not follow it through. And I think it's just like having that understanding that you are allowed to change your mind at any point in time. And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't make you a hypocrite. It's not wrong. You're not a bad person. You're not stupid. Like
you're not lazy. You're not self-sabotaging.
There's nothing
or something.
wrong with you. Like your preferences are allowed to change, and they do. And that's the nature of being a person, is that your feelings and preferences change. And I think the whole point of having sex is that it's meant to be fun and enjoyable. And you're meant to, like, both parties are meant to have a good time. And if you're not having a good time, there's not any point.
A lot of guys have this mindset of like the grind and the hustle, and they're just like, I just got to power through.
That's not what sex is meant to be.
I just got to do it anyway. I got to get those numbers up. And it's like, what the fuck is the point of having a high lay count if you didn't enjoy it? Like, what in the shit? I've had so many coaching clients come through over the years where they're just like, all right, I just got to get out there and, you know, I matched with this woman on a dating app where I talked to her in person, and we're about to go on this date, and like, I'm not really feeling the chemistry, but I'm just going to power through. Like, I know it's important. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you going to waste some other person's time as well? Like, I did this in the early years. It's like, I slept with a lot of people because I thought that I should, or I thought that's what like an alpha male would do. And I slept with a lot of people knowing this is just going to be a one night stand. Like I really don't think I'm going to see this person. I would sleep with them one time and then I text them, hey, not really feeling the chemistry, but I had a blast. Like, you're a great person. Let's go separate ways. And I did that quite a few times until I was like, wait, what the fuck is the point of this? Like, why am I having an experience that I don't want to have again? It's like going to a restaurant that has 1 star and you're like, I'm probably not going to enjoy the food. I can't 100% know that.
I'll just try it to try it.
Yeah, let me just... No, not even that. It's not even I'll try it to try it, because that's keeping an open mind. It's, I really don't think I'm going to like this food. I've looked in the restaurant and it kind of like grosses me out a little bit. I think it's going to be a struggle for me to eat it and keep it down. But then I will say, then if I do it, I can say I've been to more restaurants. And I can tell my friends, hey, I've been to... How many restaurants you guys been to? Oh, you've only been to like 100. Well, I've been to like 500. So like, just letting you know that I'm like alpha male Chad. And they're like, whoa, you've been to 500 restaurants? Yeah, like half of them I threw up, or I didn't really enjoy it, or I never went there ever again. They're like, what were the restaurants like that you went to? Oh, do not go to that restaurant. That was not I'm never going there again. But yeah, I went to lots of restaurants. Like, we do this thing, especially as men. I don't think women really do this, but we do this thing as men where we're like, I got to get that number up. And it's like, not if you don't enjoy half of it. What the fuck was the point? That was just like self-torture for the sake of pushing a number up. If you want a number to go up, play fucking Cookie Clicker, or play that game that I've been playing, Antimatter Dimensions. Play a fucking idle game where you just click on... Just play a video game and the numbers go up. Play an RPG, the numbers go up. There you go, you get to see numbers go up. Like, we get so obsessed with the number.
But I think the difference is that like people aren't necessarily patting you on the back for... as much for numbers going up in video games, but there's like this...
The thing that you realize... Sorry, finish your sentence.
But I think with sex, and maybe in groups of men, especially when maybe quite a few of them haven't had a lot of sexual experience, it's like, oh my God, that's a big number. That's really impressive. Your life must be great. And I think we do that with money as well.
Yep. I can see this as a general statement though. The people that would care about your number going up when it comes to sex are very insecure and very inexperienced and insecure. Like, anyone that's had a decent amount of sex is like, cool, I don't give a fuck what your lay count is. Like, great. All I care about is like, did you have fun? Did you improve yourself while you did it? And how did the other person feel? Like, so many people come to I think most of you get it now. Most of you watching understand, like, Andy doesn't give a fuck about my lay count. But there are still people that will come every now and then and just go, I thought I had to have sex. Literally, like, this coaching client was honest and self-aware enough to say, part of the reason why I pushed myself with this girl until I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this, was because I thought you guys, and especially you, Andy, would respect me a little bit more if I had more sex. And I was like, fuck off. Why would I respect you more for that? I respect you more if you improve yourself, if you try and be a kind, compassionate human being, if you work on yourself and do stuff that you're scared to do and show courage. I care if you make other people's lives a little bit better. I care if you make, you know, the world a tiny bit better. That's the shit that I care about. Like, lay count has zero to do with that. I would respect a virgin, like a guy who's never had sex, but is like trying to improve himself or trying to be nice to other people around him, I'd respect that more than some dude that smashed 100 women and like didn't necessarily have a great time with all of them, or like doesn't even know if the women had a great time.
Of course. And I think like a lot of people that come to the coaching program, they are looking to gain more sexual experience. And I think a natural byproduct of that being one of their goals is they do like show lots of acts of bravery and
Yes, 100%.
have lots of instances where they like give a positive experience to somebody else. And so naturally you do end up having respect for them and what they've achieved. But then I think that can get conflated with like, I've just had sex and that's what's being respected or commended.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's like this is called medium maximization. We've talked about it on the channel a little bit. It's basically where you no longer see the forest for the trees. And you're like, oh, well, the whole point of me doing this stuff was to get laid. So therefore, all that matters is I got laid. And this is in an extreme version. Any of you can Google this, the AI paperclip problem. Google AI paperclip problem, and you'll see what we're talking about here. And you're basically saying, I just want the number to go up, and I don't care how the number goes up. It's like if all you care about is the number going up, just go pay a bunch of escorts and the number will go up. Or just go sleep with a bunch of people that you're not attracted to, that you don't really have any sort of personal connection with in any, like you don't even know what their personality is. Like just go to clubs and try and hook up with people. Just go out on the street and like cold approach literally anyone, even people that you're not attracted to, and the number will go up. Like generally speaking, this is a pretty general statement. People that are maybe, trying to say this in a nice way, less attractive are easier to sleep with. So go just hit on a bunch of people that are maybe less attractive, figure out what that means, yourself. Go hit on them and then you'll get laid a whole lot. And then you go, yay, the number went up. But you probably won't like yourself in the process. And we've had this with a few coaching clients. We even had this with Ed, who's now one of the coaches in the program. He went through this in the early days. I did too, obviously. Taylor, Cam. So all four of us coaches went through this. And I guess we're saying this so that you don't have to go through this. Not that it's bad, but you can save yourself some time. We all went through this process of like sleeping with people that we weren't attracted to just so the number went up. And then at some point, all four of us individually, separately, were like, why am I doing this? Like, why is the number going up important? Wasn't I trying to make the number go up so that I could be happy? And what is the point of sacrificing my happiness to get the thing that I hope will make me happy? Why don't I just be happy? Why don't I just be a bit more selective with who I sleep with, or put a little bit more effort into screening and getting to know someone and sleep with those people? And then at least I'll have a good fucking time while I'm doing it. And yeah, the number won't go up as quickly, but why do I need to care about the number? Again, this is a really general statement, but I'm pretty confident making this. The only people that will care about your lay count are insecure. Like, I think that's just a general statement that I'm pretty happy making. Same with like bank account. The only people that will really care about the number going up are people that are, generally speaking, somewhat insecure. I think that's a pretty fucking general statement. And so if you care about the number going up, that might be coming from an insecure place. And that's okay. That's a lot of the reason why we do self-improvement. It's like, no shit, I'm insecure. Yes, I still have some insecurities. So do you. Like, it's okay. But I'm just saying the entire reason that you want that number to go up is to be happy. So why not be happy while you do this? And like you said, the number will just like accidentally go up anyway. If you just have sex that you enjoy, the number will accidentally go up and you go, wow. And at some point, I promise all of you, especially those of you who are insecure, and again, it's okay to be insecure. At some point, you won't care about the number. At some point, you won't even keep track of the number. You'll just be like, I don't know, I had a bunch of great experiences. I had some maybe not so great experiences, but I learned from them, so I'm grateful for them. And I just try and meet people and have a good time. Like at some point, I promise you won't give a fuck about the goddamn lay count. And anytime someone says to me like, Andy, what's your lay count? I talk about this a lot. It's like, I don't know. Why are you asking me about my lay count?
Sure, and I think part of that is also that in the early days, you were very like, here's the exact number.
Yeah, I cared so much about fucking lay count.
Some people hold on to like people who knew you back in the day, or like your forum posts and like the log that you had around it all. Like there 100%. Might still be an attachment to.
But I just want to know. I just want to know why, so you can compare yourself. Like literally, that's the only reason to know.
Sure. And I think especially like with the idolization of content creators, because there's content creators out there being like, I've slept with 3,000 women.
And I have this many Bugattis and Lamborghinis and
And so naturally it can be like, well, this content creator must be better than this other content creator because he says he's slept with 3,000 women and this other content creator's only slept with 500 women and therefore one is better than the other. And so I think it's easy to want some like more tangible, obvious metric to be like, this person is better than this person, therefore I should listen to the better person.
And ready, watch this, ready? This is why comparing to numbers and caring about content creators who glamorize and like Instagram influencers and all of that, and nothing against those people. I'm not, we're not judging those people, but like, if all you care about is like the appearance of like this person has slept with a lot of people, so therefore I should listen to him. Like you said, yes, there are a lot of people, some of you listening right now who are like, I like this content creator more than this one simply because he says his number is higher than this one. Or this woman seems to have a glamorous lifestyle. Women do this too. They're like, this woman has a lot of followers, so therefore she must be better than this other one with less followers. Like we all do that. It's kind of like social media has somewhat hijacked that part of our brain that sees a big number and goes, that must be better. I do it too. Like we all do this. But here's why that is like maybe not the best way to figure out who you want to listen to. Watch this. Ready? I've slept with 4,000 people. You have no fucking way of knowing if I just bullshitted you right now. Now, spoiler alert, I have not slept with 4,000 people. Holy fuck. I don't even know how I'd have the time to do that. But how would you know? If I say it confidently enough, you'd just believe me. And there's plenty of proof on my website. We've done plenty of nude photo shoots with women. We've had them on the podcast. I could say something relatively in a ballpark of believability and you would believe me. I went on, I can't remember which one, and even if I could, I wouldn't say it because it wouldn't be kind, but there was a guy who's quite famous. I think he has like several 100,000 followers on YouTube and stuff and does like dating advice and pickup advice and girl advice and all of that. I showed it to you on his website. He's literally like, I've slept with like 7,423 women. And you and I ran the numbers and it was something
as to like for how many years, how often you need to be sleeping with somebody.
And he basically for like 20 years straight would have had to have slept with like 2 women a day or something. And I was just like, I call bullshit on that, bro. Like that's just like anyone that I have ever seen come through the coaching program, and me, myself, and you get to a point where you're just like, 2 women a day is like too much. Like I have shit to do. Also, at some point you reach satisfaction. Like at some point you're like, okay, I handled my sex life. I don't need to go have sex with an... Anyway, the point is that guy has lots of followers. And I'm not going to assume that I'm not going to say he's lying, but my bullshit detector goes off pretty strong. I can't know he's lying. Maybe he has slept with 7,700 women, but my bullshit detector goes off. And a lot of influencers on Instagram are quite honest. And they're like, hey, here's how, like there's one Connor Murphy. I like him. He's a bodybuilder. And he's done lots of videos where he's like, hey, I was like fucking basically bulimic. And I had a body dysmorphia like disorder because I was a bodybuilder. And here's how I faked all my pictures. Like he's done videos and shit where he's like, look, here's how you do the lighting to make me look good. I don't have abs like I do in these pictures. Here's a bit of Photoshop that I did. Like he literally shows you. And there's lots of content creators that do this that are very fucking honest. There's lots of women that do the same thing too, where they do like hashtag no makeup or no filter, something like that.
That's ancient, but there's a lot of like posed versus unposed photos.
Yeah.
Where it'll show like how they take the perfect photo and then like what they look like day to day.
Yeah.
And it is night and day. You can make yourself look great in photos, and that's a skill within itself.
Yeah. And so to care about just a number with someone else, I won't say you're being lied to, but you're not receiving the full story. It's a cherry-picked thing that you're looking at. Like, this person has a high lay count, therefore I have to have a high lay count. Why, though? You're saying you want that to be happy. Happiness is your goal. Why not be happy? Like, in a lot of times, if you go down this pathway of like, I just want the number to go up, or I want my bank account to go up, or I want more followers, I want my follower number to go up. You're just chasing a fucking number, and sometimes you lose sight of the entire goal, which was like happiness, connection with other people. I can't tell you what's important for all of you. That's for you to figure out. I can help you, but it's probably something like happiness, connecting with other human beings, improving myself and making progress. Like the number going up on a bank statement or a lay count or a follower count doesn't necessarily improve your happiness, your connection with other people. In some ways, it can ostracize you and make you feel really fucking lonely. And there are lots of pickup artists. Roosh V is probably the most famous example, but lots and lots and lots of pickup artists and who go down this pathway of like, let me sleep with as many people as I possibly can. Wait, why is this not satisfying? Because it's just a fucking number, bro. And then they go, oh shit, what's the deeper stuff? Look at how many like pickup artists leave the game. All of them. All of them eventually get married. Us. We're not out there like sleeping with as many people as we possibly can. Basically every single one of them gets to a point where they're like, okay, maybe I'll build a family. Maybe I'll build deeper connections. Maybe I'll still have sex, but I will focus more on the connections with new partners and building something and all of that, like we've done. And so at some point, literally everyone stops caring about the number. And so I guess we've kind of gone massively off topic from where we started, but it's okay if in the moment you're like, I don't need the number to just go up if it means that I have sex with this person that I'm not super into. I can relax a little bit and just trust that the number will go up on its own. And it doesn't even matter if it goes up in the first place. But for some of you, you're not ready to hear that yet. The number will go up. You will have sex. I promise. It's like, relax. You will eventually get laid. It doesn't have to be tonight.
If you're working on it, yes.
Yeah, I've had the same thing so many times when someone's like there's a guy in my coaching group right now who will beat himself up if he doesn't sleep with a woman on the first or the second date. And he'll be like, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have said this instead. I should have done that. Like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, bro, chill the fuck out. You'll probably just sleep together on the next date. And then, yeah, they do. And he's like, why was I so desperate to fuck her on that date? Like, the world fell down because I didn't sleep with her on this exact day. And I had to wait 5 days to... It's like, chill the fuck out. You're probably going to have sex 5 days from now. And even if you don't have sex with that person, you just go talk to the next person. As long as you're doing the basics of what we talk about, like you said, improving yourself, talking to more people, improving your dating pictures or going outside and saying hello to people. As long as you're doing that process, chill the fuck out. You will eventually have sex. And I needed to hear this myself in the early days because, yeah, I would have a freak out. I'd be like, I did something wrong. I should have kissed her. I should have been more confident. I should have, what's wrong with me? And then once I got past all of that bullshit, I'd be like, hey, do you want to see each other on Friday at 6 p.m.? She'd be like, I'd love that. And then we'd have sex. And then I go, I couldn't wait, 4 fucking days?
Sure,
like,
and that took you, like that was still multiple years
that took
into
me a
us
long time.
knowing each other, that you were still having that. Like, we're having quite a lot of sex with women and you were still...
like needy.
Very attached to women, not sticking around or not wanting to, have time that weekend to see one another.
I was like, it has to be fucking now because I have a mission. I have a purpose. Like, I'm working on this sex goal. I need to handle this and then I can move on to the next goal. Like, you have to sleep with me now. And pushed lots of women away. There are lots of women that would have slept with us or had already slept with us. And then because I was so fucking desperate to just lock it in and like, come on, I need to get the lay. They would literally be like we literally had some women, one in particular that you know who I'm talking about. We both remember her vividly, who was crazy into both of us and was basically sick and couldn't meet us one day. We'd already fooled around and been sexual and fingered and all of that stuff and was going to meet us, but was sick. And instead of me just chilling out and being like, cool, like, I hope you recover. Like, you know, much love and recovery to you. We'll see you next week. Instead of me doing that, I was like, no, come on. Like, we have to meet. I need to get this lay. And she was like, you're too pushy. I'm sorry. I can't do this. I'm sorry. I don't want to see you guys. Like, literally said it's because you were so desperate to get laid. And there's lots of guys in my coaching that have gone through that in the early days.
Yeah. And I think this applies to any goal, whether that's sex or money or any number. Like, it can be very easy to fixate on the end result without actually remembering why you're doing it in the first place. And so circling back to like the entire point or like what started this whole conversation, like especially with sex, it's like the point is that you're meant to be enjoying it. And often the fixation on achieving the tangible result, like getting the number up, that actually gets in the way of enjoying it, which was kind of why you set the goal in the first place. And I feel like there's lots of like little fables and like stories about like somebody that like lose sight of why they're doing anything anyway.
Yeah, and you're like, the real victory was the friends we made along the way, like that kind of meme.
Yeah, and it's cheesy, but that is part of the point. And if you lose sight of that, then you're probably going to become unhappy and disillusioned, especially if you're single-minded and you keep pushing through
through discomfort and actual suffering.
Like some internal voice that's telling you like, hey, I'm not enjoying this. So yeah, I think listening to that is a pretty key thing to I guess, continuing to make sure that you're happy. And that's like why I think anyone really pursues self-improvement is often because people are coming from like an unhappy place or they're not feeling good in themselves and they want to change something. Like it's so you'll feel good. And like this journey it's meant to feel good with any goal it is that you're pursuing.
It's allowed to feel good, yeah.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think I want to reiterate this. Like, we're not judging anyone that would obsess about leg count. I just literally told you that was me for like years and years and years. We're not judging anyone that's insecure or just powers through and then afterwards is like, fuck, I didn't enjoy that. That's the point. That's what we said at the start. Sometimes this shit is messy and you don't know why you're doing things. You don't have strong boundaries. You're desperate to get that goal or get that money. Maybe sometimes you overstep a principle of yours and you go, fuck it, I'll use a sales technique on this person right now and I'll manipulate them because I need the money. I did that for the first couple of years. There's literally a video on my channel called, "You have 2 months left in the year, you fucking pussy." Literally, that's still on my channel. I kept that there because I don't like to delete my shit, right? So that's still there. Literally several years ago, I did a video calling you all pussies if you didn't sign up for my coaching program. That's pretty fucking manipulative. And so this happens sometimes. Like, we're all on this quest to improve, to be a little bit more, I guess, self-loving and listen to that integrous higher self part of us. And it's okay if sometimes you overstep a boundary or you're not kind to the other person or you're not kind to the other person, to yourself, sorry. Try your best, blah, blah, blah. And maybe we'll finish up, if you have more to say, you can, but let's start finishing up with a quote or something that I wrote to the guys in the coaching group. And I think it's nice to hear this. And this applies to women too. I'm going to talk to men, but women, this applies to you too. Basically, at any point in the interaction, even in the middle of sex, you are allowed to stop if you want to. Women seem to intuitively know this, probably because they're constantly told, my body, my choice. And lots of women struggle to have boundaries anyway. Let's be clear on that. But men don't seem to know this by default. It's okay if you don't want to keep going. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay if you want to stop. It's okay to tell someone you want to leave. It's okay to ask them to leave. And the guy that, we started this podcast talking about, the story that we talked about, replied and said, thanks guys. I'm going to internalize this that I don't owe anyone sex. I still feel that pang of guilt if someone wants me and I don't want them. A lot of people feel that. But it's crazy to give your body to someone just so they don't feel bad. Yeah, it's not a kindness. And it's okay if you do it, like don't beat yourself up over it. But the kindest thing you could do for someone is to say, I don't want to sleep together. Or I don't want to work together. Funnily enough, this coaching client is going through the same thing with business. We're helping him with business a little bit. He's building his business. And we literally had a conversation last week where he's like, I have a couple of clients that I work with and they give me like 80% of the headaches.
So 80-20 rule.
Yeah, the Pareto principle. They are like 80% of the headaches and they're a bit manipulative and I struggle with my own boundaries and all of that. And they're like 80 to 90% of the troubles. And I was like, you don't owe them working together. And so we sort of talked through that. And I've talked through that with a lot of people, especially in the days of building a business. I worked with a few people that I wasn't really happy to work with. And yeah, I won't say any reflection on them, but I just wasn't happy with the relationship that we had. And I felt like, yeah, I can't say no though, because I need the money. And I can't say no though, because like I'm still building a business and I don't have enough numbers. Like the numbers need to go up. The amount of testimonials needs to go up. The amount of money we earn needs to go up. I was literally just obsessed with numbers and I was like, the numbers have to go up. And it took a while. It took literally a couple of years for one client in particular for me to eventually say, bro, I got nothing but love for you. Again, he's a lovely human being, but I was like, I just don't think I want to work together anymore. And he was like, oh man, okay, cool, thanks. Like that was it.
Yeah, it wasn't as a big deal as you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I've had that lots of times. I've had people inquire to the coaching and then I'll send them a nice email and be like, hey man, I just, I don't think we're a good fit. I don't think I'd be able to help you, or I don't think you would be a good fit for the program. But I used to feel guilty. And sometimes I still do. Let's be honest. You and I still have conversations where I'm like, is it wrong for me to not help someone?
Regularly. We have these conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. So I still feel that same guilt of like, is it okay if I turn someone down? And I've gotten really good at feeling the guilt, talking through it with you, and then just making the decision that I want to make. But I still sometimes need to have that conversation with you or Cam or someone else and talk through my own guilt. So it's okay if some of you have guilt, men or women, doesn't matter. when you don't want to sleep with someone, or when you don't want to work with someone, or especially if you're doing something like what we do, where you're trying to help people, this is the one that I struggle with, hey, sometimes.
Because you're like, they need help, so I'm obliged to help them because I've said that I want to help people and that's my goal.
Yeah, this person is really hurting, and now they are literally criticizing me and constantly like saying things that make it harder for me to coach anyone. They're distracting me. They're literally being negative and critical and, you know, all of that towards me. But I should just take it. I should just shut the fuck up and take it because, yeah, like you said, I said that I want to help people and I'm on a mission to help people. So shouldn't that mean that I just let anyone say whatever the fuck they want to me and then I try and help them? Like I've gone through, I don't do this anymore, but even just like 3 months ago, I was going through all the YouTube comments and like people would literally be like, "Hi, Andy, you're a piece of fucking shit and I hope you fucking die and I hope you and your stupid girlfriend break up." And I'd be like, "All right, how can I help this person?" And it's like, fucking hell, Andy. Like at that point,
read the room.
Yeah, read the room, Andy. Like literally. And that's what some of the people would reply back to me. I'd be like, "All right, I'm going to go for a walk for 2 hours and think about how I can help this person who's obviously hurting right now, who told me to fuck off and that they hope my stupid girlfriend breaks up with me and that we die and we're alone and sad and all of that. But how can I help them?" And yeah, I'd write something to them to try and genuinely help. And then they'd just reply with more shit. And they'd be like, "Fuck you, you fucking retard. Like, what are you fucking writing all this? You fucking keyboard warrior, loser, bold piece of shit." And then I'd be like, "All right, maybe I will read the room." So I still sometimes have these like, I guess I would say like pull towards like, guilt. Like guilt still controls me, or I let it, I guess I would say. And so it's okay if some of you act on guilt. Like, I don't want to say no to someone because then they'd feel bad and I would feel bad. I'm going to stay in this relationship where I'm not really happy because I'm afraid to break up. We've had people come to the coaching program. There was one like a month ago, a guy that did a coaching call with me. And he was literally like, "All I want to talk to you about is whether or not I break up with my girlfriend." And literally that was all we talked about. And I just went through everything with him and basically gave him permission to do what he wanted, which I said, "Bro, if I had a gun to your head right now, what do you do?" And he's like, "I break up with her." And I was like, there you go. We sat here for like 2 hours trying to figure out the right answer for you. If I put a gun to your head, what do you want to do? "I want to break up. I'm just scared. I don't want to hurt her." Okay. Now we can talk about how to do that. So it can be a little bit hard and guilt can sort of cloud us. You operate on guilt a lot of the time. I do. Guilt and shame. I think most humans do.
Yep.
And so we're just working our way up that map of consciousness towards love, towards self-compassion, towards integrity, towards listening to our higher self and doing what we actually want to do instead of what the guilt or the shame tries and guilt trips us or shames us into doing. So this is a mission we're all on. You're all doing a wonderful job. I promise it's okay if you're insecure. I promise it's okay if sometimes you sleep with someone that you didn't really want to sleep with. Promise it's okay if you say no to someone and then they have a bad reaction or a very strong visceral reaction. It's okay if you say, "I don't want to sleep with someone," and they freak the fuck out. I've had that. And they start calling you names and get angry and insecure. That's okay. That's more a thing with them than you. All of it's okay. You're all doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to these beautiful, wonderful, lovely human beings?
No, I would just say if you like want help with all of this stuff, or you are somebody that wants to have a lot of sex and then you're finding that you're not enjoying the sex and there's some conflict there, or there's just goals that you want to work on and that you want to push on, they can reach out to you or us, because I read the emails, inquire about coaching, because it is a very like-minded group of people that are all pushing each other. It's a very supportive community. So if that is something you would like, you can reach out.
Absolutely. Much love to all of you. You're all doing a good job. Go out there, crush those goals, and you're allowed to have fun while you do it. Whatever your goals might be, whether that's money, relationships, sex and dating, fitness, health, friendships, whatever, we are here to help you make those beautiful goals come to life. Ed did it. Taylor did it. Harry did it. None of them are special. If you're listening to this, you know you're capable of more than you're currently giving. You already want something more than what everybody else around you seems to be content with. You want to achieve more, be more, give more to the world. You know it, and I know it. You're destined for something beautiful. Click the link to the coaching in the description below and let us help you get there. Happiness starts today.